Good morning from Olympia, Washington. My name is Bobby Johnson. It's Wednesday, May 1st of 2019. Thanks for coming to check out my stream, and thank you, Mike Jolly, for that sub. That's still in my script, man. So I'm back from my travels. I've had 3 trips scheduled in April, including speaking at 3 conferences and 1 meetup. I spent some time in Orlando. I was there for about 5 days. And I attended Orlando Code Camp and gave my Identity 101 talk there, which went really well. I had a room of about 50 people. It was standing room only, which was pretty cool. That's always a good feeling when the topic you're talking about draws a lot of interest like that, which is really fun. And it's also really fun when you're giving a fairly dense technical talk without showing a lot of code, and you can look out at the crowd and actually see that they are engaged with you, which is really cool. So you know when people are actually looking at your face and they're out there kind of nodding along with what you're saying, that you've got the crowd in the palm of your hands. And Orlando Code Camp was a really fun code camp put on by the .NET user group down there. They did a really good job. I got to see John Papa speak for the first time, which was pretty cool. He did the keynote. And the campus there that we were on was really nice. We got to go outside for lunch, that sort of thing. It was beautiful weather. It wasn't obscenely hot in Orlando yet. And then I spent a couple days. My older brother, his name is Dwayne, actually moved to Orlando last year. So I spent a couple days with him over the weekend, just visiting, that sort of thing, seeing my 2 nephews who live with him. And my sister-in-law, obviously. Hi, Kim. And then the following week, I presented the same Identity 101 presentation at the Orlando Devs Meetup, which was a really big group. I was pretty surprised. We had about 80 people in that room, which was really fun. And once again, they were very engaged and participating. Unfortunately, because of my travel plans, as soon as I wrapped up speaking, I had to pack up my stuff and run to where I could get some sleep, because I had to get up at 3 a.m. to fly back to Seattle. Following that, I was scheduled to speak in Minneapolis at the Twin Cities Code Camp, and unfortunately, due to some health concerns with the family, I ended up having to cancel that and take some time off work. So all the people at Twin Cities Code Camp, I'm really sorry for having to bail on that. I will submit again next year, and I'm adding new presentations, so look forward to that. And then last week, I actually spent some time in Mountain View, California at the Computer History Museum, speaking at Cisco's DevNet Create, which was a really fun experience. I hadn't been to the Computer History Museum before. And one of the cool things there is they have this huge painting of Ada Lovelace right in the middle of the building, and you can see it from both floors. And it's this kind of old school master's painting of Ada Lovelace, and I found that to be pretty cool. If you don't know who Ada Lovelace is, she is credited with being the first programmer. She wrote programs on paper for the theoretical Babbage machine that nobody could actually produce, but she did the mental gymnastics to actually write programs that would run on that machine if somebody could actually make it. So that was kind of fun. Cisco's DevNet Create was an interesting, large conference as opposed to the code camps and meetups that I've been going to. One thing that I discovered was that trying to fit an Identity 101 talk into a 20-minute time slot is really hard. I cut that talk to the bone and tried to still maintain the story that I try to give in that talk. And in practicing it by myself in my room, I was able to get it down to exactly 20 minutes. But when actually doing it in front of an audience where you have pauses and maybe audience reactions, or maybe, you know, just a few seconds of tangent talking about something, I ended up needing about 3 to 4 minutes more over that 20 minutes. So definitely that's a learning for me, is when you're trying to fit a time frame for a presentation, you need to make sure that you practice in such a way that you're pausing for the audience or for drinking beverages or things like that, because those little things will eat into your time, and when you're really time constrained, you can easily go over, which is pretty funny. So anyway, hey, Mike Jolly is here. I'm happy to see you, sir. I'm very excited about your Heroines of JavaScript series. I really want to see that, and I'm glad that I was able to promote it in such a way that it drew the attention of those developers, and they reached out to you. How many of them do you have booked so far? Well, I know there's at least three, 6 or 7. Wow, that's amazing. That's really good. And total, there's like what, like 30? And you're already almost what, like 15% through, 20% through? That's awesome. So anyway, I don't really have any development things that I want to work on in this particular stream. I know some people have been missing my stream, so I wanted to get my ugly mug back on camera so that you guys can, uh, you know, keep watching my stream. But an interesting thing got dropped in my lap while I was doing all this travel stuff. So that is my main role at Auth0, is that I develop presentations and code samples and things like that, and I go to present at conferences and code camps. The goal for me is to do one conference and possibly 3 meetups per month. But because I've been doing this Twitch thing, I had a couple interesting things drop into my lap. One is my manager wants me to create a proposal for migrating our Auth0 online meetup, which I took over last month. You guys might have seen me posting about that on Twitter. But we've been using GoToMeeting for that, and we've noticed that even though the series has been going on regularly for a year, we have about a 50% drop-off rate in the people that want to view the online meetup. And so I'm going to write this proposal that basically we move the online meetup over to a Twitch stream. And, you know, the reason we want to do that is typically, you know, we'll have people sign up to attend the GoToMeeting, and we'll advertise it on Twitter and various other places for a couple weeks leading up to it. And we don't know how many people are dropping off of actually signing up, but of the people that are signing up to attend it versus the people who are actually showing up to attend it is about 50%. Which is pretty bad. And just in the couple of months I've been playing around with Twitch streaming, I've been able to grow a fairly decent audience that is about the size of the audience we have for the online meetup already. And we think we could grow that even bigger by removing the barrier to entry for getting people to come view the online meetup. So that is one thing I have coming up in the near future, probably in the next month or so. And then I also had another project that got dropped in my lap. Let's see. We want, or Auth0 anyway, want to produce a series of screencasts for our product itself. And kind of the goal of these screencasts is that we can ship the entire series to our customers as they come on as new customers. And they would be able to get the basics and the how-tos of setting up their Auth0 tenants appropriately. And it's a whole range of videos. They're kind of in a chronological order. Well, actually, here, let me show you some of what I'm talking about. So, where is my... Here we go. Yeah, so this is a product training course, right? And this is kind of the rough outline of the training videos that the company wants to create. And you can see we talk about Auth0 in a nutshell. Like, what is the service that we actually provide? Another one is about architecture, like setting up your accounts and setting up your accounts in such a way that you have tenants that map to your particular development workflow. Like if you have testing, staging, production environments, how do you set up Auth0 to handle that sort of thing? Then we have a different section talking about provisioning, which is how you provision user accounts within your Auth0 tenant itself. And moving on to a section on branding, where we talk about how you customize our universal login pages, that sort of thing. And then implementing authentication in your applications itself. So basically, once we get to that point, maybe we'd be showing how you actually integrate Auth0 into a React application, into a .NET application, that sort of thing. And you can see we've got a bunch of people who are collaborating on this, including our director of marketing. And Carlos is one of our product support engineers. He's really good. He's been helping out, offering suggestions about things that our customers tend to get hung up on. So this is kind of the overall course outline that we're coming up with, but we're doing it in this quarter itself, which is already a month in, right? So we've got 2 months to produce something. So the project manager for this, his name is Kevin, went through with Carlos and a couple other people to come up with a list of like, what are the absolute minimum viable product topics that we need to cover to make someone be successful or get value out of these videos. And those are the ones that are highlighted in green. And what I've been doing is I've been going through and I've been creating what I'm calling script outlines for the various sections. And I thought that the provisioning section would be the easiest to start with. So I kind of started writing a outline of that. It went through some review process on that. And that's still ongoing. We've actually added a person to the project. Her name is Tammy. And she's going to be taking over a lot of the writing duties while I take over a lot of the video creation and production duties. So it'll be my voice, but it'll be Tammy's words because she's a far better writer than I am. And I'll demonstrate that to you in a second. So this is a script that I started writing for the provisioning section of this video series. And you can see I've written basically the introduction to provisioning, a brief section on databases with a demo, as well as a start on social connections. And at the beginning of this week, Kevin asked me if I could, get all my tools together and record the actual introduction section of this video. And so I took some time yesterday and I did that. And this is the video that I produced. And let's go ahead and watch it. And you guys will see kind of what I'm going for here. And at the end, what I would like to do is I need to go back and I need to correct some things. I'll point them out as we're watching the video here. Let's make sure you guys can see that okay. Let's see. A little bigger there. A little bigger there. So let's go ahead and fire that off. And one of the cool things about this is we got some really nice video assets from our design team for producing these videos, which you guys will be seeing soon because I want to incorporate some of them into my Twitch stream. So some of my intros, outros, title cards, things like that will be changing in the coming weeks as I increase those. So this one is on provisioning, configuring user stores. This is the introduction video. Let me go ahead and start from the beginning again. In this video, we will show you how user profiles are provisioned within an Auth0 tenant. Users can come from a multitude of places. directly through creating an account using self-sign-up, indirectly through their favorite trusted social media platform, or collectively through a trusted enterprise directory. Auth0 makes it simple to quickly connect your tenant to multiple types of user store. We group these user stores into 3 categories: database, social, and enterprise. Database connections solve many traditional username and password-based scenarios. By default, Auth0 offers identity storage out of the box that can be leveraged to manage the burden of storing users' credentials safely and securely. Auth0 is also capable of providing proxies to existing legacy identity stores. Social connections give users a simplified registration and login experience by using existing authentication from a social network provider like Facebook, Twitter, or Google. Not only are popular social networks supported, but close to 40 business, professional, and industry-based connections are available. In fact, any OAuth2 conformant identity provider can be configured as a user store. Finally, enterprise connections allow business customers or partners to manage their own users within an Auth0 tenant. This is a very powerful feature that allows any set of businesses to collaborate in a secure way. Auth0 can be configured for any number of combination of connections to provide user identity for applications. Auth0 sits between the applications and their sources of users, which adds a level of abstraction so the application is isolated from any change to or any idiosyncrasies of each source's implementation. Now let's dive a little deeper and discover how to establish each type of user store connection directly in Auth0's dashboard. This can be accomplished independently of any modifications or implementation within an application. All right, cool. So you get the idea. It's a little 2-minute video introduction to the series, specifically the provisioning section of the series, right? And there are a couple things I didn't like about that. One is the title card I'm using at the end, or the outro card that I'm using at the end, seems inappropriate to me for what I'm doing. Basically, this is setting up a series of other videos. So I want to change this ending title card to where it says something like, click the links on the right. That's why there's all this big black space over here, is when we publish this to YouTube, we can actually embed links to the next video in the series. So I want to change that title card up a little bit. There's also a section back here when I'm talking about enterprise where I switched to enterprise, but if you notice the screen is scrolled down a little bit. It doesn't pop back up where you can actually see like the header of the page, that sort of thing, which is kind of weird. So I want to correct that. And then over here, there was another space. It's in the audio, so I won't be able to show it to you, but I'm obviously reading from a script, and my cadence of what I'm saying was kind of screwy. So I want to fix that as well. And I think the reason these things happened was that when I initially tried to record this, what I did was I brought up my Auth0 tenant in a browser like this, and then I brought up my script, and I kind of put them side by side. You guys can't really see that. And what I did was I tried to read the script and manipulate the browser window instance at the same time. So my little thought patterns were kind of blocking on each other when I was trying to say, oh, now I should go over and click the enterprise link. But I immediately went back to my script and started reading and didn't realize that the enterprise link was scrolled down like this, right? I wanted it, nice and viewable like that. So what I want to do is, I think I'm going to take the script. I'm just going to read the script and record that. And then I'm going to cycle back around and play the script while I click through the application, basically. So I think that'll make it appear a lot cleaner. And I won't have the little verbal bubbles that I had, or visual bubbles that I had. Another thing that I might work on, I don't know if I have enough time right now because I have a meeting coming up in about an hour. But another thing that I might do is this beginning section. If I come back over here, where we're just kind of sitting on the dashboard, and I'm talking, and then I kind of pop out the connections menu, and I say, these are the three things. I might look at doing a slide deck where I can put some visuals up there instead of just sitting on the Auth0 dashboard itself. So that's kind of my plan, what I want to accomplish right now. And I will walk you through how I do those sorts of things. So obviously I'm using Premiere Pro. I'm only using Premiere Pro, Adobe Premiere Pro, to assemble the final product. Actually recording my screen and that sort of thing, I use a different application. And that application is called ScreenFlow. And ScreenFlow allows you to record. Let's see, I can record video from my cameras. I can record video. I have two cameras, right? I can record my entire desktop if I want to do that. I can record audio from a specific source. So I'm recording from my mixer. It's a Tascam US 2x2. So, and I can record from all three of those sources at once, which is pretty nice. But I don't really want to record the entire desktop because I have an ultra wide monitor, so it would actually be a gigantic video, and I would like my recording format to be in a standardized video format to where I don't have to do any squeezing or resizing of the video in flight. So the format that I record at is 1920 by 1080. In ScreenFlow, what it allows you to do is you can actually set up a partial screen capture. If I click that, I don't know if you guys can see this down at the bottom, but at the bottom of my screen, it's kind of cut off in the view right now, is a record button. I can immediately start recording. And then there is a options button where I can select a preset screen size that I want to record. And I've selected 1920 by 1080. And what it does is it puts this little box on my screen. It's like, okay, here's a 1920 by 1080 box. Where do you want to start recording at? I can, get it nice and tightly around my browser window. And then hit the record button and start recording, which is kind of nice. One of the things that I'm doing right now is this browser window that I have is actually a profile that I've created specifically for screencasting. So it doesn't have any of my bookmarks. It doesn't have any of my extensions, any of that thing, even though it is mapped to my Auth0 account. And this allows me to have a nice clean browser look and feel. And if I'm typing in the address bar, you're not going to see Reddit come up or YouTube or Twitch or something like that. So I only intend to use this browser profile for recording these screencasts. And also what I've done within Auth0 itself is, you notice I've created a tenant just for recording this screencast. So in my tenant, in your drop-down menu here, you can go in and create a tenant just by clicking this Create Tenant button. And you can kind of plug in whatever you want that tenant to be named. And what's nice is I have an enterprise account, so I can create as many tenants under my enterprise account as I want. So I can create as many of these tenants as I need for recording these screencasts. Which is pretty nice. So I'm starting with product training 2. And a nice thing about doing that is you don't get a whole bunch of mess in the dashboard when you're recording your screencast. Let me switch over to one of my other tenants and I'll show you what I'm talking about. So typically when I'm doing demos or anything like that, I'll use this I am not myself tenant. And you can see I've got some logins. It's a lot of me and people within Auth0 that have authenticated already. And I don't want all the noise on the screen. of those things. And especially when I come in here to like API, which I don't have many defined here right now. Maybe applications, I have a bunch. Yeah, there's a bunch of noise in here that I don't want distracting from my video. So that's why it's nice to be able to go into the tenant management and create a new tenant. And it's nice and clean. You don't have any of the login stuff. And later on, when I'm recording like an actual authentication attempt, and I pop back to the dashboard over here, you'll actually see the authentication go on the dashboard itself. And I think that'll be really nice. So why don't I start with recording? I don't really need to record this Brio. Or the camera looking at me, because obviously I'm not going to use that in the video. Let's start by recording the script again and see if I can get it to a point where one, I speak clearly, I don't have weird breaks in my voice, and I'm enthusiastic. So I got to use my speaker voice at that point. And I'm kind of using my speaker voice right now. Like if you were hearing me in a conversation with my wife, I might have a different tone of voice than I am when I'm on stream. But I've kind of noticed in watching videos of myself when I'm presenting, I have a more gregarious kind of voice I let come out to try to be entertaining to the audience. So it's a little different than what we're seeing here. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to pull my script right here, and I'm going to just read it and record what I'm doing. So I'm going to start with that. I'm going to hit record, and you'll see how this goes with what did I say I'm using? I'm using ScreenFlow. So this is kind of what it's like to work with ScreenFlow, which is really nice. So I'm going to ask you all to be quiet. No subscribing. No cheers. No, I'm totally telling you guys to mess with me. So feel free to mess with me if you want. And I don't know why I'm talking over here. That's where my chat's at right now. So I'm looking at chat over here. So that's pretty fun. Okay, so here we go. In this video, we will show you how user profiles are provisioned within an Auth0 tenant. Users can come from a multitude of places, directly through creating an account using self-signup, indirectly through using their favorite trusted social media platform, or collectively through a trusted enterprise directory. Auth0 makes it simple to quickly connect. See, I totally messed that up. But what's cool is I can just start over again. So Auth0 makes it simple to quickly connect your tenant to multiple types of user stores. We group these user stores into 3 categories: database, social, and enterprise. Database connections solve many traditional username and password-based scenarios. By default, Auth0 offers identity storage out of the box that can be leveraged to manage the burden of storing user credentials safely and securely. Auth0 is also capable of providing proxies to existing legacy identity stores. I kind of bobbled there, so I'm going to re-record that one. Database connections solve many traditional username and password-based scenarios. By default, Auth0 offers identity storage out of the box that can be leveraged to manage the burden of storing user credentials safely and securely. Auth0 is also capable of providing proxies to existing legacy identity stores. Social connections give us a simplified registration and login experience by using an existing authentication form from blah, blah, blah. Okay. Social connections give users a simplified registration and login experience by using an existing authentication from a social network provider like Facebook, Twitter, or Google. Not only are popular social networks supported, but close to 50 business, professional, and industry-based connections are available. In fact, any OAuth2 conformant identity provider can be configured as a user store. Finally, enterprise connections allow business customers or partners to manage their own users within an Auth0 tenant. This is a very powerful feature that allows any set of businesses to collaborate in a secure way. Auth0 can be configured for any number of combination of connections to provide user identity for applications. Let me try that again. I kind of bobbled there. Auth0 can be configured for any number of combination, blah, blah, okay. Auth0 can be configured for any number and combination of connections to provide user identity for applications. Auth0 sits between the applications and their sources of users, which adds a level of abstraction so the application is isolated from any changes to and idiosyncrasies of each source's implementation. Now let's dive a little deeper and discover how to establish each type of user store connection directly in the Auth0 dashboard. This can be accomplished independently of any modifications or implementation within an application. All right, I think that sounded pretty good. So I'm going to stop the recording. And you'll see, let me pull this out. This is actually the ScreenFlow editor window. And I'm not really that concerned with, let me make sure you guys can see everything here. Okay, that's good. I'm not really concerned with the video that I recorded, so I'm just gonna nuke that. And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna play, and I'm gonna find those little baubles or stop points that I had where I had to retry doing what I was doing, and I'm gonna cut them out of the audio. So let's do that. In this video, we will show you how user profiles are provisioned within an Auth0 tenant. Users can come from a multitude of places, directly through creating an account using self-sign-up, indirectly through using their favorite trusted social media platform, or collectively through a trusted enterprise directory. Auth0 makes it simple to quickly connect. See, I totally messed that up. Oh, there we go. So there's one of them. Let me increase the view of my time bar here. Let's see, where did I mess it up? Auth0 makes it simple to quickly connect. See, I totally messed that up. But what's cool is I can just start over again. So Auth0 makes it simple to quickly connect your tenant to multiple types of user stores. We group these user stores into 3 categories. Okay, so it sounds like I bobbled it right here. So I'm just going to split that clip. And what I did was I set the time marker to the location that I wanted to split, and then I right-clicked on the item, the audio item in the time bar, and I'm cutting it out. Told it to split the clip, and then I can just select where it ends, the bobble. I think it was right here where I started it again. Let's listen. Auth0 makes it simple to quit. Okay. It's about right there. I want to leave this little dead space right there to where there's a natural pause, natural sounding pause in my voice. Let's go ahead and split that clip, nuke it out, and then I just slide that over, and we should be able to listen to the transition and it sound good. Trusted enterprise directory. Auth0 makes it simple to quickly connect your tenant to multiple types of user stores. We group these user stores into 3 categories: database, social, and enterprise. Database connections solve many traditional username and password-based scenarios. By default, Auth0 offers identity storage out of the box that can be leveraged to manage the burden of storing user credentials safely and securely. Auth0 is also capable of providing proxies to existing legacy identity stores. I kind of bobbled there, so I'm going to re-record that one. Database connections solve... Okay, so I started again from the word database connections. I think that's right here. Auth0 is also capable of providing proxies to exist... No, was it here? Auth0 offers identity storage out of the box that can be leveraged to manage the burden of storing user credentials safely and securely. Auth0 is also capable of providing proxies to existing legacy identity stores. Right, I kind of bobbled there, so I'm going to re-record that one. Database connections solve many traditional username and password-based scenarios. By default, Auth0 offers identity storage out of the box that can be leveraged. Did I start all the way from back here? Database connections solve many traditional username and password. Go here. Database connect. Yeah, so I need to cut basically from here. Split the clip to about here. Split that clip. I'm gonna nuke this. tighten it back up. Enterprise. Database connections solve many traditional username and password. Let's make sure that transition still sounds good. I'm going to go back into where you can actually hear me speaking and see the transition across the clip. Database, social, and enterprise. Database connections solve many traditional username and password-based scenarios. By default, Auth0 offers identity storage out of the box that can be leveraged to manage the burden of storing user credentials safely and securely. Auth0 is also capable of providing proxies to existing legacy identity stores. Social connections give us a simplified registration and login experience by using an existing authentication form from blah, blah, blah. Okay. Social connect. All right, so that one's got to go. So I believe that started about here. Split that clip to about here. I should leave a blah in. No, these have to be professional. So let's nuke that. Slide it over. I want to actually hear some words as the transition goes through. Auth0 is also capable of providing proxies to existing legacy identity stores. Social connections give users a simplified registration and login experience by using an existing authentication from a social network provider like Facebook, Twitter, or Google. Not only are popular social networks supported, but close to 50 business, professional, and industry-based connections are available. In fact, all right, where did that start? I think that started right here. In fact, okay, so I need to clip about right there. Clip that out. That big old sigh is pretty awesome. Let's see. I want some of this white space there, so, or white noise space, whatever you want to call it. So I clip that out, slide it over. They're available. In fact, any OAuth2 conformant identity provider can be configured as a user store. One thing I want to point out, I don't know if you guys are hearing it on your end, but this audio is only coming out of the left channel from my from my workstation here, and that's because my microphone does only like go in as a left channel device. When I'm streaming, you guys are hearing my voice in both. Wow, my video is kind of all hosed. I keep switching around. Hey, now you can see me a little better. Anyway, so what I was saying was, when I'm streaming, I'm actually setting a setting in OBS that has my left channel going to both right and left, so you kind of hear me in stereo. But I am recording in ScreenFlow. The recording that it does only comes through on the left channel, and I'll correct that in Premiere when I go to edit the audio itself. So anyway, Ancient Coder, I am working on a screencast project that I've been assigned at Auth0 to create a series of screencasts on product training for Auth0. So the intention of these screencasts is to be able to package them up and ship them off to a new customer and give them a starting place for learning how to work with the platform in the prescribed best practices way, basically. And what I'm doing right now is I'm recording some audio to an introduction, and I'm editing that audio to where it flows well and you don't have the little verbal bobbles of me like pausing to think about what I'm going to say next, or eating a word and only saying half of it, that sort of thing. So a few minutes ago, we recorded myself reading a script. I messed up in several places. Instead of starting over again from the very beginning of the script, I just started with either the paragraph or the sentence that I messed up. Now I'm in ScreenFlow, and what I'm doing, even though there's no screen editing that you can see, and I'm editing the audio to take out all the bobbles, right? So anyway, I will scrub back over here to where we can hear some words, and I'm going to continue on. This audio clip is about 2 minutes long when it's finished, so let's give that a try. Professional and industry-based connections are available. In fact, any OAuth2 conformant identity provider can be configured as a user store. Finally, enterprise connections allow business customers or partners to manage their own users within an Auth0 tenant. This is a very powerful feature that allows any set of businesses to collaborate in a secure way. Auth0 can be configured for any number of combination of connections to provide user identity for applications. Let me try that again. I kind of bobbled there. Auth0 can be... Okay, so let's see. I think it's right here is the sentence. Auth0 can be configured for any number of... so I'm going to clip it at about right there. So I'll split the clip. And then I'm going to clip it at about right there. Nuke that little bobble. Connect the audio back together. Your way. Hit play. Auth0 can be configured for any number of combination, blah, blah. Okay. Auth0 can be configured for any... All right, let's get rid of that one. Let's see about right there. Okay. Auth0 can be configured for any number and combination of connections to provide user identity for applications. Auth0 sits between the applications and their sources of users, which adds a level of abstraction so the application is isolated from any changes to and idiosyncrasies of each source's implementation. Now let's dive a little deeper and discover how to establish each type of user store connection directly in the Auth0 dashboard. This can be accomplished independently of any modifications or implementation within an application. All right. That sounds okay. I'm going to clip off this little dead air at the end to where we actually have a section that's about 2 minutes long. And I'm going to jump back to the very beginning and I'm going to play the whole thing and see how it sounds. In this video, we will show you how user profiles are provisioned within an Auth0 tenant. Users can come from a multitude of places, directly through creating an account using self-sign-up, indirectly through using their favorite trusted social media platform, or collectively through a trusted enterprise directory. Auth0 makes it simple to quickly connect your tenant to multiple types of user stores. We group these user stores into 3 categories: database, social, and enterprise. Database connections solve many traditional username and password-based scenarios. By default, Auth0 offers identity storage out of the box that can be leveraged to manage the burden of storing user credentials safely and securely. Auth0 is also capable of providing proxies to existing legacy identity stores. Social connections give users a simplified registration and login experience by using an existing authentication from a social network provider like Facebook, Twitter, or Google. Not only are popular social networks supported, but close to 50 business, professional, and industry-based connections are available. In fact, any OAuth2 conformant identity provider can be configured as a user store. Finally, enterprise connections allow business customers or partners to manage their own users within an Auth0 tenant. This is a very powerful feature that allows any set of businesses to collaborate in a secure way. Auth0 can be configured for any number and combination of connections to provide user identity for applications. Auth0 sits between the applications and their sources of users, which adds a level of abstraction so the application is isolated from any changes to and idiosyncrasies of each source's implementation. Now let's dive a little deeper and discover how to establish each type of user store connection directly in the Auth0 dashboard. This can be accomplished independently of any modifications or implementation within an app. Ooh, I kind of cut off my my wording there at the end. So I can add that back. Let's undo the split. I'm going to give us a little white space there at the end. I'm glad I did that listen through, even though it might have been boring for you guys to listen to the whole thing together. I'm glad I heard that trailing cutoff in an application. Yeah, that sounds pretty good. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to export this, and how I export it. Lossless audio only. I'm going to do that. That sounds pretty good. So go ahead and export that. And I'm going to export it to my desktop, and I'm going to call it Introduction. Hit save. And that exported pretty quickly. So I'm just going to go ahead and delete that. And I'm done with the script for right now. And basically the way we put our Premiere videos together is our design team creates project templates for us. And the project template that I'm using is called Screencast. And it sets up a series of attributes or folders for us, some flow within the document itself. So what I'm supposed to do with this audio is I'm supposed to just drag that into the audio folder, and then I'm going to bring up Premiere, and let's make sure you guys can see this. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go into the audio folder here, and I'm going to drag that down into the timeline at the bottom, and I'm going to try to line that up with this. And this audio and introduction video is the old one that's kind of messed up. What I need to do now is I need to record the screencast portion of my presentation. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to close out of Premiere. I'm going to move this, and I'm going to open up my recording in this video, and I'm going to show you how user profiles are provisioned within an Auth0 tenant. And I'm just going to follow along. Users can come from a multitude of places, right? Directly through creating an account using self-sign-up, indirectly through using their favorite trusted social media platform, or collectively through a trusted enterprise directory. Auth0 makes it simple to quickly connect your tenant to multiple types of user stores. We group these user stores into 3 categories: database, social, and enterprise. Database connections solve many traditional username and password-based scenarios. By default, Auth0 offers identity storage out of the box that can be leveraged to manage the burden of storing user credentials safely and securely. Auth0 is also capable of providing proxies to existing legacy identity stores. Social connections give users a simplified registration and login experience by using an existing authentication from a social network provider like Facebook, Twitter, or Google. Not only are popular social networks supported, but close to 50 business, professional, and industry-based connections are available. In fact, any OAuth2 conformant identity provider can be configured as a user store. Finally, enterprise connections allow business customers or partners to manage their own users within an Auth0 tenant. This is a very powerful feature that allows any set of businesses to collaborate in a secure way. Auth0 can be configured for any number and combination of connections to provide user identity. Okay, so that's kind of the flow that I want to record, right? Is I want to start at the dashboard with the connections menu closed. I'm going to give my little spiel, kind of setting us up. And when I go to list the different type of connections, I'll open the menu, kind of highlight the 3 that I'm going to talk about. And then as I go to describe the 3, I'm going to actually click through to the page to where you can see the page for database connections. You can see the page for social connections. And because we have so many social connections, I kind of want to scroll through and let you be wowed by the plethora of different types of connections that work just out of the box. But then I want to make sure I scroll all the way back up, click the enterprise link, do the enterprise spiel. And then once I'm done with the enterprise spiel, there's like a little closing section. I want to hop back over to the dashboard, complete that, right? Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to start this over again. but I'm going to be recording my section of the screen that contains the Auth0 dashboard this time. So I'm going to, you can't see what I'm doing. It's kind of off to the right of the screen. But up in my menu bar up at the top is like a little camera icon. I can click on that and choose configure recording, which will bring this dialog box up in ScreenFlow. Now this time I don't care about audio, so I'm not going to record any audio. I'm just going to record from the desktop, and I'm going to record a custom area. And I want to make sure that custom area lines up with my video resolution. One thing that I want to point out is that the dashboard right now is actually zoomed. You can't see that. Let me pop that back out. If I go to view, you can see I'm zoomed in, I think 125%. I'm not sure. Oh, it shows it right here. Here we go. Yeah, 150%. And that just makes the dashboard actually fill up the window that I'm using to record. So I'm going to go ahead and bump that back up to 150 to where it looks nice. And I'm going to record while the audio is playing to where I know when my cues are to do things, but I won't be recording the audio again. I just have raw video. So let's go ahead and do that. So let's get my record box wrapped up around it. And I'm going to start recording. I'm going to give myself a little bit of dead space to work with right now as well, because if you remember in Premiere, I had that like little sweeping video thing. I want it to be able to have some room to work with. So now I'm going to go ahead and start playing the audio. In this video, we will show you how user profiles are provisioned within an Auth0 tenant. Users can come from a multitude of places, directly through creating an account using self-sign-up, indirectly through using their favorite trusted social media platform, or collectively through a trusted enterprise directory. Auth0 makes it simple to quickly connect your tenant to multiple types of user stores. I kind of messed that up. We group these user stores into three categories. I'm going to stop that recording. Database, social, and enterprise. Toss it because I don't want it. Database connections solve many traditional user... And I'm going to start over again. Figure recording. Want this area. Am I still lined up? Yeah, I'm pretty good lined up. Go ahead and record. Give myself the dead space again. Just a few seconds of it. In this video, we will show you how user profiles are provisioned within an Auth0 tenant. Users can come from a multitude of places, directly through creating an account using self-sign-up, indirectly through using their favorite trusted social media platform, or collectively through a trusted enterprise directory. Auth0 makes it simple to quickly connect your tenant to multiple types of user stores. We group these user stores into three categories: database, social, and enterprise. Database connections solve many traditional username and password-based scenarios. By default, Auth0 offers identity storage out of the box that can be leveraged to manage the burden of storing user credentials safely and securely. Auth0 is also capable of providing proxies to existing legacy identity stores. Social connections give users a simplified registration and login experience by using an existing authentication from a social network provider like Facebook, Twitter, or Google. Not only are popular social networks supported, but close to 50 business, professional, and industry-based connections are available. In fact, any OAuth2 conformant identity provider can be configured as a user store. Finally, enterprise connections allow business customers or partners to manage their own users within an Auth0 tenant. This is a very powerful feature that allows any set of businesses to collaborate in a secure way. Auth0 can be configured for any number and combination of connections to provide user identity for applications. Auth0 sits between the applications and their sources of users, which adds a level of abstraction so the application is isolated from any changes to and idiosyncrasies of each source's implementation. Now let's dive a little deeper and discover how to establish each type of user store connection directly in the Auth0 dashboard. This can be accomplished independently of any modifications or implementation within an application. Give myself a couple seconds for the wipeout at the end. Then I'm going to stop the recording. And let's take a look at what I got. It looks, you know, it should be 2 minutes. The audio I'm going to map it to is about 2 minutes. But because we gave the pause at the beginning and the pause at the end, it's a little longer than 2 minutes. And what I'm looking for here is any weird use of my mouse scrolling into the screen or blocking something weird like that that might just make the video look odd. And you guys probably can't see that whole screen because it's taking up the entire screen. So let me kind of squash that down a little bit to where you guys can see it. Okay, so in watching it again, there are a couple things that kind of bug me. One is when I was showing the social connections, the social screen, I started out by using my mouse wheel to scroll, and it gave it kind of this jittery sort of going down. So midway through, I switched over to using the scroll bar and scrolling slowly, which gave it a nice, smoother scroll. And I kind of like that. But I don't know if I'm over-optimizing at this point. I mean, did you guys notice that? Would you correct that if you were working on this? Give me some feedback. While I'm thinking about that, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and export this video, and I'm going to get it into the Premiere project and line it up with the audio and see how it flows together. So to do that, I'm going to go to File, Export, and I'm going to use, I believe I used iPad before. No, I don't want iPad. Let's see. I definitely don't want Apple TV. I think I used Web High before, but I don't change the scale of the video at all. I actually want to output a 1920 by 1080 video. That way, if I want to resize it in Premiere, I have the largest kind of screen resolution that we'd want to put out on YouTube or anywhere else we'd want to publish this video. So let's go ahead and export that. And I'm dumping it to my desktop. I'm going to call it Introduction Take 2. And save it. Hey SMB, thanks for joining. Happy to see you here. I'm glad to be back on my stream. Looks like I just got a notification that my meeting is starting in 15 minutes. So I'm going to try to get this video in there and lined up in the next 15 minutes before I have to sign off. Well, I'm kind of waiting for that. I'm going to go take a look inside my dashboard and let's see who we can raid. Who's out there available to raid? Code Rushed is going. He's only got a few people watching. Nick Larson, I just started following him recently. Look like SMB's done, so yeah, maybe we'll hand you guys off to Code Rushed once I'm done with this section right here. And it looks like my video came out in MP4, which is what I wanted. I'm going to go into my cloud drive here. Outlines, video project, provisioning. I should have my audio footage there. I do. And then my video footage, I'm going to just drop that right in. And then like I did earlier with Premiere, I'm going to just drop the introduction take 2 video into one of these video slots. Oh, and it's not going to let me do it. Why is it not going to let me do it? Oh, I did have M4V last time, not MP4. I wonder if Premiere doesn't like MP4 videos without a plugin. Let me try it once again once Cloud Drive finishes syncing it. So, nope. I may have to re-render that video because it is not M4V. Maybe that's why I did change it to something else. Let me give that a try. Export. I bet if I do iPad, I'll get an M4V this time. I wish ScreenFlow made that more clear in their export dialog that like, hey, choosing this option is going to produce a MOV or an MP4 or something like that. I always kind of guess when I look at the little export dialog. All right. And I was correct. That did produce a M4V video this time. So minimize that. I'm going to drag it into the timeline here. What are you doing? Well, here, let me get rid of this video first and then try dragging it in. All right. Why aren't you letting me insert it? DM1. Oh, there we go. That was weird. That's really strange. I'm just trying to put it above the audio, right? You can see over here there are labels for audio sections, so I can have up to like 3 audio audio tracks, and I can have several different video tracks. This is a part of the template that our design group put together for us. But for some reason, it won't let me drag this video into that section. So let's see what that looks like. In this video, we will show you how user profiles are provisioned within an Auth0 tenant. Users can come from a multitude of places. That is absolutely not my video. Directly through creating. I think it's because it's not in this. It's in an audio only track in the timeline and not in one of the video tracks. But it will not let me move it up there. So I think I'm going to have to figure that out at a later date. So I'm going to go ahead and pass you guys off to another streamer, and I will pick this up either later this afternoon or potentially tomorrow. All right. So you guys have a good day. I really appreciate you guys coming and hanging out with me for a while. I really miss streaming. So thanks a lot. Let's do Nick Larson. Head on over there. All right. Are you ready? Go. Raid. I am already raiding another channel. So you guys should have the raid notification. It should be sending you to the appropriate place. And I will see you next time.